Hey everyone, I'm Heather here with Jamie and our producer Quinn on the podcast Life in Motion. And today we're kind of recapping our Galentine's event that we had at the church a month ago. So if you were there or you weren't able to make it, this is the episode for you.
Yeah.
If you had a question that we didn't get a chance to answer, maybe we answer it today.
It's a really great and healthy conversation. 3 ladies, all different ages, so we bring a wide variety of perspective. Let's get started.
So last month at church, we had our Galentine's event, which was so much fun. You and I looked so cute.
We did. We did look so cute.
And to prepare for that, we did a survey.
Yeah.
Everybody got to
By
send
we mean Quinn.
You and me and Quinn.
Okay.
All of us.
We sent out a survey, so we got lots of questions back, a lot of feedback on female relationships, female friendships. And
we answered a ton of questions that night.
We didn't get a chance to talk about everything that all the questions that everybody sent in. Today, we're going to answer some questions.
Let's get started.
So like you said, the Q&A had a fill in the blank question space, and we got a lot of questions. So we'll go through some of those today of questions that Life in Motion listeners and just some of the women in our church asked.
Okay.
A lot of them have to do with female friendship, and some are just kind of general questions. But the first question is, how do you handle confrontation when a friend hurts your feelings? Telling another female she hurt you makes the confrontation that much worse.
Why?
Telling another female
saying you
that
hurt my feelings
makes the confrontation worse.
Yeah.
So it seems to me like whoever asked this question has had some negative experiences bringing up hurt in friendships, and maybe it's caused a situation to boil over or something.
For sure. First, go ahead.
You can go first.
You look like you had something, and it's probably going to be the softer side. So you go ahead and
you go first, and then I'll clean up behind you.
I would say number one, if you have friends that you can't tell them they hurt your feelings, do you have the right circle of friends? But that was mean.
Yeah.
So instead, let's say.
I would say, I don't know. I don't get my feelings hurt too often, which kind of surprises me because I think that you would expect that I would get my feelings hurt. But I really genuinely don't get my feelings hurt that often. And I think
Do you think it's because you believe the best in other people?
Probably I believe the best. And also I'm pretty secure in who I am.
Sure.
That if I am going to get my feelings hurt, I'm probably feeling insecure about something in my life.
Yeah, it's probably the approach that you take when you talk to someone too, because I try to teach my kids this. If you have to, first of all, let's just say this. I think most of the time you have to weigh if the confrontation is worth it. Is this the situation that I'm not going to be able to overlook and it's going to affect our friendship? Or is it something that I can just go, I would do it differently, but moving on. I think we sometimes deal with confrontation too often. Make sure it's worth it. And I think you confront people when you know that there's a win on the other side of it. Like I cannot be settled if I don't say this, or the friendship will be fractured if I don't say this. And you have an end goal in mind of wanting something better on the other side. But I also think that you have to enter things owning your own part.
Yeah.
Like, can I ask you a question? And I may have misunderstood this, but I got my feelings hurt because X, Y, Z. But I think if you just go in and say, you really hurt my feelings, it's a whole different, if you come to me saying that, excuse me, ma'am, I think you hurt my feelings, my defenses will go straight up. And chances of me being super nice in return are pretty low.
Yeah.
It's my personality, it's my fight or flight, it's all the things. But if you come to me and say, man, I really appreciate your friendship. Can we talk about something? This happened. It might be all me, but I feel like it's worth talking about. I think it goes a long way. Do you have something to add, Quinn?
No, I mean, I feel like you mentioned even an example at Galentine's of like a real life situation you had kind of recently.
Yeah.
Of this going really well.
I'm willing to share that story
Sure.
again. I have a friend named Amy, and we've known each other for 25 years. We're not super close, but I would call her a friend. And this was maybe 5 or 6 years ago. She approached me. Actually, our boys were at a baseball practice, and she approached me. She said, "Can I talk to you?" And she was pretty teary. So just the way she approached with humility made me be like, I mean, do you need a hug? What's going on? And she told me of a scenario where I did something that hurt her feelings. And what she said, she was warranted to have hurt feelings. Now, my side of it, the other side, once I explained it to her, she's like, "Oh, I misunderstood." But how she felt was based on an action I had done. So her feelings were warranted. So she came to me in humility. So I was able to hold on to what she said and just say, "I'm so sorry." And I said, "This is how it played out on my side." And then she's like, "Oh, I misunderstood it on my end." And we were able to have restoration and feel better about it. Well, little did I know that a couple of years later, my dad would be diagnosed with stage 4 terminal lung cancer. And as a result, one of my sisters fell back into deep addiction. She was in jail, getting ready to go to rehab. Amy knows my whole family. And she reached out to me and was like, "I'm praying for you. I'm praying for your family. What can I do?" And I just think the beauty of her bravery and humility to approach me a couple of years earlier and say, I can't get settled with this. And to very kindly tell me what happened on her end gave us the opportunity to restore a relationship that then paid me back 100-fold later on. So I think a scenario like that, was it worth it? Oh my goodness, yes.
Yeah.
And did I need to know that something I had done had caused her to feel that way? Absolutely, because I honestly didn't know. But then she also got to see it from my point of view and everything. But we believed the best in one another. And so it was well worth it. So I do think you can have healthy conflict and move past it.
What about somebody that's continually hurting your feelings? Like every time you're with them, you just are like, they're mean to me again.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, are they just a mean girl where they are always giving backhanded compliments? Or
This is fascinating, Heather. That's a question. I just saw this on a reel on Instagram, so you know it's true. But a psychologist was saying that you get a cortisol, is that the right word? Cortisol spike when you kind of jab someone. And so people that are accustomed to jabbing people, it gives them a little quick high.
Yeah.
So they don't always know they're doing it. And his response was like, if somebody's gaslighting you, and this is happening over and over, he said, don't take it personal and very calmly say, "Are you trying to hurt my feelings?" Because it takes away the cortisol spike. And they shut it down because it's no longer worth it, because their body isn't giving them the chemical reaction. So I just told Eleanor yesterday, I was like, we're going to try a social experiment at school. And then next time some girl says something mean to you, I want you to very, very calmly just say, "Are you trying to hurt my feelings?"
Yeah.
And so we haven't tried it yet, but I think she might be trying it today. So to be continued.
Yeah, like
But
you might
that's
have a
fascinating.
friend that's always like, you're such a laid back person. Your home is always so messy. You're such a laid back mom. Your kids are so wild. You're such a that they might like.
This happened last week. A real life this happened. My sweet little girl participated in her school talent show.
Yeah.
And did so good.
Thank you, Quinn.
Might I add.
Quinn came and cheered her on. Another little girl's parent, who I don't know who it was, so if you're listening, I mean, it's water under the bridge. But another girl's parent said to her afterwards, "You did so good." But my daughter was the star of the show. It's just like, my kid's 11.
Yeah.
And I told Eleanor, I go, everybody thinks their kid's the best. She didn't mean it. And Eleanor goes, "Oh, yeah, she did." So, whether she meant it or not, it was probably a quick cortisol spike.
Yeah.
She probably didn't intend it to be a jab to an 11-year-old child, or maybe she did.
Yeah.
But I think that sometimes we're asking it from, what if somebody keeps hurting your feelings? And we might need to flip it and go, what's going on in them that they keep talking to me that way and I receive it, and then determine, is it worth it to keep walking with that person?
Yeah.
Or do I need to say, are you trying to hurt my feelings?
Yeah.
Or do I need to cut it off? And then I think the power is more in your hands. Like, I see what's happening and now I get to decide, what do I do with it?
Yeah.
Versus, you are so mean. You hurt my feelings all the time. It's like, okay, I see what's happening. Now what do I do?
Yeah.
I think that's a healthier approach. I think.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
I don't know. Would you, if there was somebody that was continually hurting your feelings, just say, I'm not sure what you mean when you say this, but it to me, your feelings are your feelings,
Sure.
and your feelings are valid.
Sure.
Whether you need to surface something with somebody or
Yeah.
not, your feelings are your feelings. Do you?
Ask the question. I can't wait.
I can't.
I can't wait because I think I have an answer.
You're, if somebody's continually hurting your feelings, do you say, I don't know what's going on,
Okay, I want to know from you before I answer. Do you want me to tell you the correct answer, or do you want me to tell you what I would actually do? Because I am unhealthy in this area.
tell me what you would do.
I would just be like, done with you.
Yeah.
And cut them right out of my life. Incorrect. I'm working on it. I'm dealing with it. I have a lot of years under my belt of just too bad for you. I won't speak to you again. That's horrible. It's absolutely horrible. So what should I have said? I should have said, I would take it to heart and I would pray about it and I would determine what the Lord would have me do in that situation. But I'm just a big child in that area. So
But you did just tell a story where you did receive
thank you.
somebody well,
Thank you, Quinn.
and
Hype girl.
you with humility and change.
Yeah.
And I think, obviously there's two parts to play.
I think in that story, you've got a one-time offense.
Sure. That's true.
You hurt Amy's feelings one time.
that I know of.
And she knew you well enough to come to you and say, I don't want this to be between us.
Yeah, true.
But if you have somebody that's continually hurting your feelings,
Yeah.
is that you and you're being insecure, or is that them and they're a mean or a harsh person? Maybe they're not intending to be mean. Maybe they're just a harsh, in their family, they just tell it like it is.
And now that is true, because we sometimes say in my family, my nuclear family, we sometimes say, Job's shoot to you straight. And that is proving, as my kids get older, to sometimes be a problem. Like how my kids are willing to directly say something to someone, and now learning that you have to soften that up, and you can feel that way, but maybe you approach it differently. Man, Heather, I don't know that there's a blanket answer for every situation. There's probably some where you go, it is a mean person and you need to distance yourself to protect your own heart. There's sometimes that it's like, no, this is worth fighting for, but they don't know it. Sometimes you have to say, I've got to overlook that. They didn't mean it, but it's probably case by case.
Yeah. Sometimes people who say, I'm just going to tell you, I'm going to shoot it to you straight. Sometimes they just need to mind their own business.
Yes, they do.
They're telling you things that don't need to be said.
Yes, I know that for a fact, because I have done that. and I have a small child that is currently learning that sometimes we say nothing at all. It's just so hard for us. But you're right. You're right.
I feel like the dynamic we're kind of touching on is like the vibe with the friend that's like even slight frenemy territory.
Yeah.
Like I'm sure as women we all have experienced that to some degree.
Yeah.
Oh man, the one-up mom.
Yeah. Of like, maybe there's that underlying competitive edge there. And maybe
Eleanor
it is an
sang so
insecurity.
well, but she did have a couple of flat notes.
It's like probably
goodness.
it's coming from an insecurity they have that they're projecting. It could be lots of things, but I think it's sometimes hard to decide what you are willing to put up with. And some friendships, it's like, this person I never feel good after an interaction with them, or feel self-conscious around them, or I'm overthinking. And so I've personally just been trying to think about relationships like that.
Yeah.
Of like, it's just, is it worth it?
It's
like,
probably, Quinn, also, can I be healthy in this relationship?
Yeah.
Does this weigh on me so much that I go to sleep thinking about it?
Yeah. Right.
Or I replay, because I will say that the comment to my little girl, I've replayed at least 12 1,000 times. So that one evidently really struck a chord with me.
Yeah.
But for the most part, like, can I go to sleep at peace with myself and in my relationship with that person? Then you have conflict. It's worth working through. But at the over and over, however, at Galentine's, one thing that Quinn defined for everyone, in case they weren't clear on it, was what it means to be a girl's girl and to celebrate other women just for the sake of celebrating them. And I have been totally practicing this. And you guys, other people are so kind to you when you are a big hype girl.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
true.
wild.
Yeah.
Like, people need people to cheer them on. I'm just like,
And it's like you're giving them permission to lean into that also. Like,
Yes.
oh, we're not competing. Like,
There's
it's a
nothing to
safe
compete
space.
over.
We're all for each other. Yeah, that's really cool.
I feel like it's being mirrored back to me. And I'm just like,
Yeah.
who knew? Like, I actually like how this feels.
Oh, yeah.
I
Because
love
there are
that.
some people that
Yeah.
you will be with. You're just like, I love to see them coming towards me because
Right.
I know that they're going to be encouraging to me. And then there's other people that'll come towards you and you're just like, Lord, help me.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Because it's going to be a heavy conversation. It's going to be maybe a mean, always little digs or
Yeah.
one-upping or whatever. Yeah.
This, I'm going to segue real quick, but this reminds me of the question that we had come in, and you may have to read it so I don't get it wrong, about the friend with the new mom.
So another question we got was, how do you, as the non-married friend, is that what you're...
Yes.
Okay. How do you, as the non-married, non-mom friend, tell your friends who have kids that you wish they would reciprocate communication and initiation without being insensitive to how busy they are? It feels like I don't hear from my mom friends unless I initiate, and even then, it's hit or miss on if they remember to reply.
I would delicately and with a ton of compassion say the married mom friends' seasons of life have changed. They may still have room for a friend that is single without children. But man, you remember when you're in the trenches like of a newborn, I mean, you're not getting adequate sleep. You're tired all the time. You still want to have a relationship with your spouse. I mean, like, baby sleeps, you sleep, or baby sleeps and you don't sleep. It is all consuming to be a mom. I think any age your kids are, but especially when they're little.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, or fortunately, for the single non-children person, you get to decide if it's worth it to put the time in or not.
And
with no hope of reciprocation.
Yeah. And I think that you have to, and if you decide that you want to put the time in, I think you need to set your expectations differently.
Right.
It's not going to be the same when you were both single.
Right.
Or even there before kids. It will never be the same again. You have kids, your life is never the same.
Yeah.
And the people that you're friends with are never the same because you had kids. That's just the way that it goes.
Right.
So you have to set your expectations differently. But then also, is there a different way that this friendship can work? Can you just say, I love spending time with you. Can we once a month go out to dinner?
Yes.
And you put it on the calendar. Chances are, being a mom of whatever it is, baby
Right,
stage,
right.
grade school stage, that date might change
Right.
because of events and sickness and things that come up. So you can say, I love being friends with you. And I know that we're in different seasons of life, but I want to stay together.
Yeah.
So let's go out to dinner once a month. Or invite yourself over to their house.
Yes. I was just thinking about two, I'm going to say young ladies, older than Quinn, younger than us. Brittany and Kendall were best friends. Brittany got married first, started having children, and Kendall would just show up for Brittany and her kids. Maybe Brittany's husband would be at work or whatever. Kendall would show up, play with the kids, hang out with Brittany. She made it very, very easy for Brittany to continue being a close friend with her.
Yeah.
I have a feeling, and this isn't to knock Brittany, and she's probably listening, but had the roles been reversed, that friendship could have dissolved. Because when you have kids, your whole life changes. But Kendall made it very easy for her.
Yeah. I
keep
mean,
being
if
friends.
you're single and you don't have kids, you do have more time than married with kids. That's just the way that it goes. So show up on a lunch break and bring your friends some coffee
Yes,
and a sandwich and say, okay, let's play with the kids and
Or I'm
talk.
on my lunch break. I've got 30 minutes. Let's talk about everything. We got 30 minutes. Let's go.
Yeah.
Perfect. But also know, and we talked about this at Galentine's, friendships for the most part are fluid and they change given the seasons. And you need to be prepared that if the season changes and the friendships fall away, you don't have to despise the person. You don't have to be frustrated with them or like, I can't believe this.
It's most likely not personal.
It's not.
It's not personal.
99% of the time, not personal. And you do have the ability to do what Scripture says. You want friends, show yourself friendly, put yourself out there, take the initiative, and find a new group of people. And also, in both Mel Robbins' podcast that we referenced at Galentine's and Jennie Allen's book, Find Your People, both of them say something that I think is worth saying. Like, I'm going to say it harsh because my personality, so clean this up when I'm done, but they say it will always be your job to take the initiative. Like, you never outgrow going first. You go first. Like,
and you can't, that's the only thing you can control is
that
your
was a nice
part.
way to say it. Just control what you can control. That was a much.
Take care of
And
what
I
you
think
can
it's
control.
same in confrontation. Like you can't,
Very
you're not
good.
going to be able to control how they receive what you're bringing to them, but you can control how you bring it to them and the fact that you decided to address it and the rest is not in your hands.
Yeah.
I don't know. This is probably like I don't know where I learned this because it's a tale as old as time. Oh my gosh. But like when you are I know it's in athletics, but I think it's in everything. Like if you get frustrated with a coach, think about it, sit on it 24 hours, decide if it's worth telling them why you're so mad at them. Like your kid's on the team and you need to tell them why they're idiots. But I just recently read it about friendship and confrontation. Like if something's really bothering you, take the opportunity to write it down and then say, in 5 days, I'm going to pick this back up. Mm-hmm. And 5 days later, is it still worth talking about? Because sometimes getting it out of yourself is just enough. Mm-hmm. And anyway, being full of humility. I can't go back to Amy's story enough. Just how she approached me, because had she approached me any differently, like I really need to talk to you about how you hurt my feelings, I would immediately defenses up. Mm-hmm. But she was just tender, and her tone set the whole conversation.
Yeah.
So,
And I would assume the person who asked that question is probably a young adult.
sure.
And I feel like that can be an awkward time for friendship.
Oh, sure.
Because you're going to have friends who are in completely different seasons of life. And so your life's going to look different.
Yeah.
And there might be some unequitable friendships.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And I feel like in the Mel Robbins podcast we keep referencing, which we'll link in the show notes, but she talks about the great scattering that happens
right.
in young adulthood, and that can be really disorienting of like, I just lost all my community, friends are moving and to different parts of the country or getting married, and our friendship's not their priority anymore, and like it's just can be a painful time.
Yeah.
It makes me think, Quinn, like Brian has had a best friend since he was 12. Heather and I have known each other for maybe 20 or 25 years, but been close for 10 or 15. Mm-hmm. And I have noticed in my own children, because Brian and I model friendship for them, that I think it bothers them that they don't have a ride or die best friend. Mm-hmm. But one thing I've never known how to articulate until we've done some studying on friendship is part of what we have and what Brian and Lee have is proximity. Like that changes. It's wild that Brian and his 12-year-old best friend would work at the same church. Mm-hmm. So they therefore see each other every day.
Yeah.
How often does that happen in life? Rarely, if ever. Mm-hmm. They started a nonprofit together. So they have to work together on a regular basis. How often do people do that? Not very often. Mm-hmm. Things like that. Like I referenced at Galentine's, but like even when we aren't seeing each other face to face, like we kind of feel like mother hens, you for sure, mother of the house, of the church, caring for this staff of 350 people, loving our congregants, loving our church body. We have a very similar passion. Mm-hmm. And then you go and do your hospital work, and I don't do that. I go and do this over here. Mm-hmm. But we have so much of life that overlaps. And so I think people will often ask us, how did you get this friendship? And I used to think maybe we were special, but I think the grace of God on our lives is special.
Sure. Yeah.
I mean, most people just don't have the overlap that we have.
Yeah.
So I don't know that there's like a do it this way and then you can have a best friend for life. I think it's hold loosely to what God puts in your hands and thank him for what you have and realize it could shift over time.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you have to pay attention to your season of life.
Yeah.
That's going to dictate who your friends are.
Absolutely.
You have to initiate all the time. Doesn't matter what
Yes.
season of life you are in, you have to initiate
Right.
because people are doing their own life. It's easy in college because
Yes.
you're living in a dormitory with a bunch of people
Well, and I
you're
went to
all
Texas Tech, 25,000 people between the ages of 18 and 24.
Yeah.
You're going to find a
You're
friend out of
gonna
those
find a few,
25,000. Right.
hopefully.
Right.
You know, you're all on the same path. You sleep in the same places. You walk to the classes.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like, it's there, it's easy, but you still have to be intentional.
Right.
You still have to talk to the person that's sitting next to you in your
Absolutely.
class. You still have to go to the different events and things and talk to people. You have to be the one to initiate. What's so funny?
I don't know what you were saying. You have to be the one. And I was just like thinking back to like, there was this good looking guy on my campus and I literally would just like pretend like I had classes wherever he was going and follow him around, hoping he noticed me. He didn't, but I did have, the odds were in my favor because I was always where he was.
Well, what could have happened if you would have
Initiated further
and just said, "Hey,
than just following
you want to
him
get
around?
a Coke?" Yeah,
Yeah, hey, want to get a Coke? I just followed him around. Sometimes my class was kind of far from where his class was. And so I would be hustling to get there. I'd be a little sweaty. Okay, that was me at 20.
You got
but-
your,
his
you got
name
your
was
workout
Brian
in.
Job.
I know. No, but I did stalk Brian Job also. And
Yes.
that one worked out.
You never know what could happen.
You never know a girl that stalks you. She might be worth it. I
Yeah.
always tell my boys, you want a girl that you have to chase and pursue. And then I'm like, except for I was never that girl and I turned out okay.
Well, you could put it this way. You want to chase until he catches you.
Okay. Okay. That sounds good. That's a good way to say it.
Yeah.
I'll keep that one for Eleanor in my back pocket.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, I didn't mean to start laughing while you were really, really getting with it.
Oh, so let me get back on track. Be aware of your season of life.
Yeah.
It's always changing.
Sure.
One thing that's happening a year from now could be totally different next year. This year to next year. Totally different. Be aware of your season of life. I'm all of a sudden working a full-time job and I don't know what to do with myself.
Yeah, it's wild. Full-time, but it's wild. Yeah.
Initiate.
Yeah.
You always, the responsibility is on you to initiate. Whoever your friends are, whatever season of life you're in, you must initiate.
Yeah.
What's number 3?
You're making these up as you go, so I'm not sure.
Maybe, I don't know, be honest. Be open-handed.
okay.
Be loose.
Yep.
Be loose.
That's not the right way to say that. Be loose has a sexual connotation.
Okay,
Open-handed.
be
open-handed.
open-handed. Be,
That's good.
Be generous with your thoughts, your feelings, your words.
I love, love, love when you really have a conviction about something, you start preaching. You don't do it often, but you're like, yes, that's what I meant.
That's what I
Sit up
meant,
straight in your
yes.
chair. Yeah, that's good.
Be
That's good.
generous.
Yeah, be generous. Be a girl's girl.
Yeah.
Love. The last one from the Galentine's thing that we didn't get to was, why do I constantly evaluate the words and body language of other women, even friends? I feel like I'm never good enough, smart enough, talented enough, or intelligent enough. Makes me sad. It seems like maybe a self-confidence issue, some insecurity that's kind of getting in the way of relating to
At
other women.
Galentine's, there was a question that came up, and I was just like, get in a small group. There's no reason you... I went on my own rampage, and you said, hold on a second. Get close to Jesus. And I feel like that might be the answer for this one. Everyone may be doing things. Their body language may be off. They may be saying things with a clipped tone, all of the things. But it goes back to control what you can control, which is, do you know who you are in Christ? And if not, or even if you think you do, but by hearing us say that, you go, well, what do they mean by that? Then dig into Scripture. Tell a pastor at your church that can help you get on a path towards knowing who you are in Christ. Because I do hear a lot reading between the lines, I hear a lot of potential insecurity in that, and that breaks my heart because all of those types of things are things that you can resolve with the Lord, not necessarily with the other person, but definitely with the Lord.
Yeah. And I think that there are some people that maybe because of your upbringing, maybe because of some situations in your life, you're at a different starting place, relationally speaking, than some of the people in your life.
Sure.
That maybe you grew up in a home that you didn't have dinner table conversations.
Yeah.
So you never learned how to just chit chat about your day. Maybe so when you're getting together with people, you don't know how to do small talk.
Oh,
you
wow.
don't know how to do chit chat. So you're looking at people for cues, but you're not sure, are these the right cues?
That is fascinating, Heather.
And so there might be another step for you to take that's smaller. And I don't know the whole answer to it.
Sure.
But maybe it's asking somebody who could mentor you and help you and say, I grew up in this situation, or I was neglected, or whatever it might be, and I feel like I'm missing something. Would you help me learn some things?
Heather, or even taking the question exactly as it is written to someone and saying, I feel these things in my relationships. Maybe you don't know how to point back just yet, but I feel these things in my relationships. Would you maybe talk with me about this? I mentioned this at Galentine's, and I think it was the Holy Spirit because I didn't plan to say it, and then I was like, that was so good. But when Emma asked me Brian and I to go to dinner with her and her husband every 6 weeks, I referenced this. She was brave because I easily could have said no. And we've got a lot on our plate. And sometimes getting together every 6 weeks is proving nearly impossible because of our schedules. But she was brave and she was specific. And I think a lot of times young people want help from someone older, but if you can't articulate what you want from that person is going to be super hesitant to agree to anything. Can I go to lunch with you one day and talk about this? And if it goes well, then at the lunch say, is there any chance you're interested in making this kind of a repeat conversation? I learned so much from you. I'd love to continue to meet together, but I think a lot of young people want quote unquote mentors, but I don't know that they know how to define what they really want. And that word means something different to everyone. And I will tell you, if someone asked me to be their mentor, I would probably 99.9% of the time say, nope, I'm not able to commit that kind of time. Because I do in my mind have an idea of what that might be. But what do you want from the person you're approaching? What is your question specifically?
Is there an area that you want to grow in? Like, do you want to grow and know how to make friends and relate to people?
Yes.
Then you are looking for somebody in your life, and they might not be your friend.
Right.
But they might be someone that can help you get to the place where you can make friends. You want somebody that's going to be able to coach you and help you to make friends. So you're going to have to be honest with them and let them be honest with you. There will be hurt feelings. There will be tension because they're going to say, it's really weird that you bite your nails when somebody's trying to talk to you. I'm making that up. I'm making that up.
Yeah.
But if you always have your fingers in your mouth,
right,
people are like, that's... Sometimes you don't realize.
You don't realize. You don't know what you're doing.
Yeah.
It's called a blind spot because you're blind to it.
Yeah. So you're asking somebody to coach you through your blind spots. You're asking somebody to coach you through your social awkwardness. And parallel to this, you are also going to need to be developing your relationship with the Lord so He can talk to you about who you are, so you know who you are and what you're bringing into a friendship.
I was going to say, Heather, part of this is my unique personality, and I think gifting from God. I'm not for everyone, but I feel like a lot of times I know who is for you. So if you're brave enough to approach me, like I would just say, come with no expectations of the person's response. You be brave, you be the initiator, you be specific. Here's exactly what I'm looking for. Are you willing to step into this with me? I find that most often in my life, and again, I know it's unique to me, but someone will come to me and say that, and I'll go, it's not me, it's Heather. Do I have permission to introduce you to my friend Heather? Or like, oh my goodness, I can hear your heart and you sound just like my friend Quinn. Would you mind if I tell her a little bit of your story and see if she could reach out? Often I'm a connector and I'm not your one, but I do think that sometimes people point to someone and go, I'd like that person to help me. But if you would just be brave enough to ask that person to help you take a next step, they may never walk with you. And it's still a win.
Yeah.
I got passionate about that because my arms were flailing.
Yeah.
I'm going
I
to
love
sit
it.
down
That's
on
so
that.
good. Yeah, I mean, obviously, there could be so many factors playing into why someone would feel this way. And I also wonder if a piece of it sometimes could be like, are the people you're surrounding yourself with also kind of that frenemy type friend? Like,
Yeah.
are you seeking out friendships that are safe spaces to be vulnerable and to just be honest about, hey, I'm really struggling with this insecurity. Like,
Yeah.
just addressing it directly. I mean, ideally, our friendships are places where we can be honest and vulnerable and share our insecurities. So I think there could be a piece of like, if you always feel less than around your friends, like, again, I think there's that internal piece too of like, what do I need to work on with my own self-worth or family of origin or whatever, but also, am I surrounding myself with people who are not, bringing out the best in me and kind of pulling me down in some way? Like, I think a lot of people are not great friends.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes we have to just accept that and want better for ourselves.
So maybe it's even asking God to show you what your next step is. The one thing I do want to, if that person's listening, I do want to provide hope in saying, I hear the pain in that question, and friendship doesn't have to be painful like that.
Yeah.
So the fact that you're brave enough to ask that detailed of a question, there is hope. There is hope for you. And it's going to be found in Jesus. It's going to be found in, introspection, finding safe people to navigate life with, but you don't have to continue feeling that way forever.
Yeah.
So there is hope. There's definitely hope. So.
Yeah. What would you guys say to somebody like who
I should have saved that hope answer. Go ahead. Man.
What would you guys say to someone who's listening to this and just feels like they're kind of stuck or at a loss for what to do? Maybe it's season of life. Maybe there's been a change. Maybe they've moved to a new place, whatever it is. And they just like feel like they don't have the types of friendships we're talking about. What is like one practical step or advice you would give?
I would highly recommend reading Jennie Allen's book, Find Your People, because she is a Christian. She's going to point you to Christian principles. I feel like it's a book that I have read and studied and agree with. But here's what I would say. I led that study in a mid-sized group, so 120 women or whatever. And as always, when you're in a group like that, I could look across the room and see, man, about 15 people are going all in. About half of them really like this, but they have some friends and they're looking at how I might tweak some areas of my life. And then, I don't know the numbers, I'm not good at adding. So this percentage and this percentage, but a great percentage of people will have the information in front of them and not be brave enough to do what it says. So I would say if you really, really want to grow in this, it's an excellent resource. She's going to point you to Jesus. You're going to be able to have a deeper relationship with your Heavenly Father. And then she gives a ton of practical steps. And I would just say, will you take them?
Yeah.
Will you take them?
Yeah, I would agree with Jamie.
Good.
Thank you. I think the biggest thing to do is to, wherever you're at, you've moved to a new place, you're just feeling lonely, your circle has dissolved, so to speak, maybe different life changes, whatever it might be. You are the one that must take the initiative. It will not come to you just staying home and staying to yourself. It might be that you've got to start a new hobby, or
Right.
just being bold and going out and talking to people, going to a coffee shop, and you just ask them, "Oh, what's your name? What are you doing today?" Just talking,
Yeah.
just getting practice talking to people. Not everybody you're going to talk to is going to turn out to be a friend,
Right.
but it'll help you get over those initial speed bumps that you feel like, ugh, of stretching yourself in that way.
Yeah. I also feel like if you're our age or older, a lot of people, by the time they're our age, they've lived in the same place for a period of time. They typically have some level of friendship. But if things feel a little bit dry or stagnant, I would look and see, who are you supposed to be befriending. I'm not saying who are your friends supposed to be. Who are you supposed to be loving on, showing love to, showing encouragement to? Because there's something about pouring out to others that then you are refreshed. And I've got 2 girls right now in my life that I spend a fair amount of time with that are younger, and they're so fun. But I can do things for them that they can't do for themselves. I have more life experience than they have. I'm not their mom. They don't feel like they have to do what I say by any stretch. So we can be friends, but I'm so much older that I have perspective they don't. I can go to lunch and buy their lunch every single time. And I have found that as I pour out, I am being refreshed. So kind of depends what season of life you're into, but I do think you get to be around our age, and the temptation is we're launching kids out into the world, into the universe, and now what? And I would say, now what? I think life's just beginning.
Absolutely.
I think it's just beginning.
Absolutely.
What a beautiful place to end. Life's just beginning.